genocide. Sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one leaves countries. Laugh to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.TV, and this is my favorite little online network. No doubt about it. Today is, what do we got, the 29th of October, 2017, and time people wake up. It's really time. Yeah, time's a-wasting. I did a show last night, and I've been thinking about this. If there was a show that I've ever done that I enjoyed most or more, and I've done somewhere in the vicinity of, if not 2,000, getting close to 2,000 shows over the last 10 years or so. And last night's show with Jason Lamont, who is a veteran, young vet, who did time in Afghanistan and really got his eyes opened. Maybe we should all go over to some foreign country. Maybe we should all join the army and go over to some foreign country for a stint and get our eyes opened up properly. Here's a guy who went and risked his life. He got a Valor of Honor, or Honor of Valor, whichever it is. A new medal for going out and dragging a wounded soldier off the field under heavy fire. And, the general rule of thumb is you don't go out until they quit shooting. But this young guy just went and did what he knew he had to do and get his buddy off the field. So, but, we talked a lot last night about a whole bunch of stuff. And we had all kinds of technical problems last night, so the show was bouncing in and out. And I think UCY was off for about, must have been almost an hour. This is what people don't understand. Like, when they came back, they were on CBC News, our Communist Broadcasting Corporation news source. And they're playing them up like heroes and stuff. And, these guys were suffering from all kinds of problems, PSTD and ringing in the ears, tinnitus, and all kinds of things going on. So once they were done promoting these guys, using them for the propaganda, and him and a bunch of other guys were getting very close to the 10-year tenure, which would have given them a decent pension. And the Canadian Armed Forces just cut these guys all loose prior to pension. And he ends up, one day he's a hero on the Communist Broadcast news source, and next day he's living in his truck. We see this forever. It doesn't matter if it was the Vietnam War vets or the Iraqi vets or the Afghani vets. And these people are treated like garbage. You know, the propaganda is, oh, we're gonna fight these guys. But the reality is they just use these guys for nefarious purposes, and then when they come home, they've been used, and they have no more use for them, so they just throw them in the trash, more or less. And that's bloody disgusting. So we discussed some stuff last night, a lot of stuff, and one of them was about our borders and how we're going to get the vets, because I don't think we're going to get the military to shut the border down, because the military has been internationalized, the police forces have been internationalized, we here, at least in Canadistan and America, but Trump's kind of putting his foot down on it, is we're bound through treaties and agreements with the United Nations that we're obligated to open our borders under this migration plan. So, people here are bitching about the liberals opening their borders. It doesn't matter. The borders have been opened. And the military, it takes an oath to the Queen. We talked about that last night. And the Queen is a fictional entity. It's a fictional corporate entity. All the politicians take an oath to the Queen, which is a fictional corporate entity. And that's all our countries are. I don't care if you're in the States here or Australia or Britain. I don't care. Your country, your so-called country, is a freaking corporation. Period. And they use you. They turned you into corporate entities, and they use you as collateral for their loans, which would be okay, I suppose, but they also make you the surety for the debt. So, you've been used, you've been abused, you've been lied to, and we gotta come to terms with that. But as far as our borders are concerned, have you ever seen the police on the side of the people? Never. And we're going to have the same problem with the military. So that leaves us with the general public and hopefully the vets. And the question is, how do we round the vets up? Because we got to get down to the border, and we got to close this sucker down. They've made an immigration policy now of 450,000 immigrants per year coming in here, and none of them are vetted. So Calgary, I think, is the third or fifth largest. I think it's the third largest city in the country now. Just happens to have a Muslim mayor, and it's getting flooded. And so Calgary's just a hair over 1 million people. So if you're bringing in 450,000 people, you're basically bringing in the size of the third or fifth largest city in the country every year. And they have their customs and societies have nothing to do with ours. And the word is that in 2050 or sooner, that the European stock that built this country, the so-called country, will be a minority, which means that your legislatures are going to fill up with, and your local councils are going to fill up with migrants. And they're changing the Canadian citizenship rules so you don't have to be here very long anymore. It used to be 5 years, but our legislatures and councils are filling up with people who weren't even born in this country. And we're so docile, we're just letting it happen. The European stock is not saying this is screwed. We're going to run and we're going to take these seats. And that's the easy protection, because whoever's got the seats, whoever's got the power in the legislature and the council, they're the ones that make the rules. They're the ones that make the rules, regulations, and the laws. They're the ones that make the bylaws at your local level. So if you get a bunch of Muslims who take over your local councils, they're going to start bringing in one form of Sharia law or another. They don't like dogs. If you live in a town and you got a dog and they get control of your council, you're guaranteed they're going to put a bylaw in that you can't have a dog because it upsets them. You're going to be eating halal food, which is no different than kosher food. I mean, there's almost no difference between the Jews and the Muslims. These things, these two groups of people are so integrated, it's nuts. You got the rabbis and the imams, or the imams, I hate these stupid words, having conferences all the time. Because all you got to know about this game, I'm sick of this anti-Semitic nonsense. You know, be an anti-Semitic. Even if you're a Jew, you should be an anti-Semitic. Because if you understand the meaning of the word, then you would be anti-Semitic. The problem is, people, they just, I'm getting slaughtered again. I'm not getting slaughtered, but I'm getting irritated, I guess. I just got out of Facebook jail last night again. And I had done some posts, but I can't move them around. So I moved it around a bit last night, the last post I put up. And even from the liberal side, or the people that hate the liberals, are telling me that I can't be anti-Semitic or anti-Islamic. And these are the so-called conservatives saying that my post is anti-Semitic and anti-Islam. And I can't do that. These are the conservatives saying that. These are the people that hate the prime minister because he's a liberal. But you can't be anti-Semitic or anti-Islamic. Well, I'm not. I nothing I've posted could be credited with being anti-anything. I'm just posting their words. And then I get these conservatives going, oh, yeah, well, those are liberal imams and rabbis. Really? Like, give your head a shake. There isn't a political party in this country that is not pushing the UN globalist internationalist agenda. Not a one. Vote for us. Get the liberals out. Vote for us. And then they turn around and call me anti-Semitic. Which is absolutely stupid, but this is how it works. Now, what anti-Semitism is basically you're not happy with the undue power and influence that the Semites have in your particular country. And that's exactly what they have. They have undue this is a different one, but anti-Semite, one who seeks by political or other means to lessen the commercial, political, or social influence of the Jews. Okay, and that's exactly the problem. They have way too much political influence. They have way too much social influence. They're the ones that said that they're the ones that are bringing us multiculturalism. And they have way too much influence in our commercial systems. There's such a minute portion of our society and our countries. They're a tiny little fraction of the overall populace. But they seem to have way more influence than their numbers would indicate they should have. So, am I an anti-Semite? Well, by the definition of anti-Semite, absolutely. Does that mean I hate all Jews? Absolutely not. I got friends that are Jews. But my friends who are Jews got their eyes open. They get it. So are my Jewish friends anti-Semites? Yes. But they're still Jewish. They get what's going on. This idea that you can't say anything because it might upset somebody is the same as putting a gun to somebody's head. But they can't come in and shoot us like they do in other countries, so they have to use it through psychology and propaganda. But it's the same thing as putting a gun to somebody's head. If you say this, we're going to destroy your life. Same difference. You might still be walking around, but you're gun shy. Everybody's walking around with duct tape on their faces so they don't say something that might irritate somebody. Well, if you're worried about irritating somebody by something you said, you're already dead. You're the walking dead. If you haven't got the backbone to say what you mean and mean what you say, then you ain't a man and you ain't a woman. You're a piece of pathetic flesh wandering around the planet. What you're saying, if you're afraid to say what you got to say, you're saying you don't care about your family. You don't care about your children. You're just a pathetic piece of meat with no spine. That's maybe a little harsh to say, but that's just the way it is. But I'm not spewing so-called anti-Semitism. Okay, I'm putting out what they say. That's all I'm doing. Now, I don't know how long I'm going to be out of jail again. Probably not too long. But that's okay. There's here's a post I cracked up last night, which I'd put in a while ago. Bob Rae, who's an NDP Premier of Ontario, has been appointed by the Prime Minister, and I wish people would cut. There's the misuse of words is sickening. Okay, you're not a human. You're a man or a woman. Okay, deal with it. Okay, because if you allow yourself to be a human, then you're an animal. And you ain't got no freaking rights. Right? It's that simple. You wonder why you're treated pissy. Well, because you're an animal. Plain and simple. They've taken away your proper status from you. And this idea that this is our prime minister or our president, it's neither. Our prime minister takes an oath to who? To people? No. To the Queen. Well, who's the Queen? They go Elizabeth. No, Elizabeth's not the Queen. Elizabeth is a woman who took an oath to gain a title of Queen, which is a fictional, dead corporate entity. You're an Alice in friggin' Wonderland. Okay, your life is Alice in Wonderland. Even, when I read Alice in Wonderland, or parts of it, and read the writer of it, it just was just too, when I got online here doing shows, people are always going down the rabbit hole. Well, you don't go down the rabbit hole. You want to get out of the rabbit hole because you were born in the damn rabbit hole. You were born in a fictional system. There's no reality here. The legal system does not recognize a man or a woman. Why? Because they didn't create it. And they can only have authority over what they create. So they can't have authority over a man or a woman, so they create persons, human beings, creatures. And a creature, by definition, is created. So they create you. They rebrand you. They take away your rightful status as a man or woman because they have no authority over that whatsoever, i.e., let no man judge you. So we're in Alice in Wonderland, and we need to get out. And how do you get out? The same way Alice fixed the problem. Well, she was down the hole wandering around meeting all these weird characters and that. Everybody, had their own deal going. Nobody was causing anybody any harm. And that's law. Legal, you don't have to cause anybody any harm and they'll haul your ass into court because it's a financial entity. It's a business. It's a corporation. And you're the surety. So they give you a ticket and drag you in and then tell you how much money they're taking off of you. Or whether they're going to throw you in jail or not. But you may not have harmed anybody. I would think that the high 90% of people that ever end up in these courts have harmed nobody. But what they do, because they have dominion over what they created, they just keep making new laws. It goes all the way back to Rome and the sin tax. They need more cash to make a new sin tax. Well, I caught you doing 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. Yeah, I realize there's nobody on the road but you and me, but I have to write you a ticket. That's a sin tax. That's all that is. So our prime minister, our so-called prime minister, is not our prime minister. It's the Queen's prime minister. And the prime minister is a title. And the Queen is a title. It's all fictional. But that title is the CEO of the corporation called Canada. And the cabinet is the board members. It's that freaking simple. You got to get your brain wrapped around that. So, when people say, well, why are they letting all these people into our country? It ain't your country. Simple as that. You're just a slave in this place. And they do what they want to advance what they want. It ain't got nothing to do with you. Not one of these people represent you. None of them. The police don't represent you. The military don't represent you. The politicians don't represent you. School teachers don't represent you. The preachers in your churches don't represent you because they're all corporate entities. If you want peace and you want freedom, well, we got to bring this house of cards down. Plain and simple. And Alice did that. She watched everything that was going on. And then anytime the authorities showed up, everybody got scared and nervous. And they weren't the same people anymore. They were these scared, shaky, I don't want to get in trouble people. You had that Red Queen running around, off with their heads. And she's going, what is going on here? Right? And in the end, she was in court and she was going to give witness or whatever. And this is true too, because we were in court and the judge did agree that if we get him cornered, he can ignore all the rules and make a new rule. There is a rule of that in the law in Ontario and Canada here. We get you up against the wall, you're running out of wiggle room. They can just disregard the rules and regulations and laws and make up a new one. And that's exactly what they did in Alice in Wonderland. Alice is going to witness or testify in court because she got it. And she started to grow rapidly. So the court took the opportunity to make a new rule. Oh, sorry, you can't testify or witness because we got a new rule here that if you're growing rapidly, you can't testify or give witness. And the scaredy cats, the general population, is like, oh, now what? Well, now what? Alice just stood up and said, you know, you're nothing but a bunch of playing cards. Fictional entities. Let no man judge you. So, you know, this political game that gets played is just that, an act. That's all it is, an act. Now, a lot of people talk about democracy, you know. They were spreading democracy with artillery. Well, if you're spreading democracy with artillery and bombs dropping out of planes and whatnot, you got to question what the hell is this democracy we're talking about. Is democracy actually a good thing? Well, of course not. Of course it's not. Now, if you where did I run into all this stuff? Okay, we'll have to go this way. Demagogue, the word demagogue, from Greek, means popular leader, also leader of the mob. From demos, people. See, demotic, or demotic. To lead, to drive, draw out, or force, move, to move people. Okay, and it's all psychological, it's all an act. Now, if you look up democracy, you end up with the word demotic, right? Which is, from Greek again, of or for the common people. From demos, common people, originally district. These were the church districts because it was all ecclesiastical until they rebranded that into the corporations. They had the freaking people, and Rockefeller, I think, if you follow that back, I think he was one of the first guys who was involved in the public works system of sewers and water and that. And they actually had these people. This was the change out from church running everything to the government running everything, or the politicians running everything. It's the same game. Same freaking game. Now, they had the church people praying to be incorporated, for crying out loud. Because they incorporate a town and they put sewers and water in, and they go to another town that's running on outhouses and wells and whatnot, and then they show them this. If you were incorporated, you could live better. They actually had the people praying to be incorporated or enslaved. So democracy, we have a demotic, and just above that we have demoralize, which is basically what they've done to the people. It's really quite pathetic what we've put up with. But then, we go through school and that, and they teach us things, but they don't teach us anything. They tell us stuff, and we just agree with it. I mean, I went through school here in Canada. You can't go through in Canada, I know. But anyways, we were taught nothing about the financial system. We were taught nothing about the political system, right? We were basically taught nothing. You know, it's like Charlie Brown, you know, with the teacher standing at the front of the class, or however that noise is. This is sound coming out of the teacher's face, but there's no knowledge attached to anything there. So we have the demagogues who are running us. They're our leaders. And it's about the common people in districts. Rule strength. So they have rule over us, the demagogue. And we put up with this shit. And we got to stop it. Somehow, some way. All of this, you know, if you have a friend or something that's, I don't care if he's conservative / Republican or liberal / Democrat, I don't care. But if you're talking to a friend and they start this right-left nonsense, just tell them to shut up or her to shut up, or ask them how long they've been mentally retarded. Because that's what the school system did. It mentally retarded you. That's its purpose, is to retard your mental capacity so that you don't ask any questions. Well, this is what we learned in school, so it's got to be true. Wrong. Wrong answer. This is what they taught me in school, so I'm pretty sure it's a crock of shit. Right answer. We've been enslaved for basically ever. All roads lead to Rome. Now, when I found that flag, somebody had sent me a video of somebody they thought may be on the up and up, and I saw a flag in the background, and I'm listening to this guy, and he's pretty good with his words, but I'm listening to this guy. You got to listen to these guys really close because they're good at what they do. A good deceiver is a good talker. But looking behind him and I see some sort of a flag back there and I can't figure out what the hell it is. I don't recall seeing that particular flag. So I got rooting around looking for this flag. It turns out it's a Roman flag. And what do we find in the Roman flag? The laurel wreath and the Roman Empire. And what do we find today? We find a laurel wreath with the world inside of it. The final empire. Where these nefarious dogs control the entire world, just like they controlled Rome. And all you got to do is ask yourself a question. Is that what you want? Do you want a group of people you don't even know who they are? I mean, just look at the EU and the trouble that's caused the people. And it's no different than the Soviet Union. And how do we end up with the Soviet Union? With the Marxists, the Jews, yada, yada, yada. And how'd that work out for the people? Oh, I don't know. Millions of them were slaughtered and starved to death. We should have a system like that here. So they took down the Berlin Wall and they took down the Iron Curtain. And the world cheered. Freedom. Wrong. You just got to go back to 1950 and read what Warburg said at the Senate hearings. We will have world government by consent or conquest. But we got us a problem. It's all about divide and conquer. They spent how many years people worrying about nuclear war between the Soviet Union and the West? My whole youth was that. Duck and cover. Oh my God. That's divide and conquer. That's the fear card. So when the wall and the curtain came down, the world cheered and the media's all over it. Hot damn. The world is coming together. Well, in one sense, yeah. But if you listen to Warburg, the wall and the curtain had to come down because we can't have a world government as long as we have two opposing world powers. That is why the wall and the curtain came down. There's nothing there to cheer about because that's just one more step on the road to the final empire. So then they cook up the European Union, and we see how that's worked out for all of these European countries that were conned into becoming part of the EU. And the problem is with it, most of the people in most of the countries didn't want anything to do with the European Union. But you got the media shoving, and you got the right puppet politicians, and you got the right puppet teachers and preachers. It doesn't matter what the people want. And now we have the European Union. And all of these European Union countries are being flooded with what? Islam. A setup and a takedown. Now, I don't know how it is that the people in the West here, in North America, Australia, it can be, or at least North America, can be so utterly stupid for so long. That really irritates me. But then you don't see this stuff on TV. You don't read this stuff in the newspapers. And people don't look for anything. So if it's not being broadcast in the media, then it must not be happening. Because we don't see it. Everything that happens in Europe is going to show up here in 6 months to 2 years. It's always played itself out that way. And here it is. And here we have the media, the teachers, the preachers, the unions, the police force, the military, all on side. There's something wrong with your country when you have the military and police marching in gay pride parades. There's a problem here of some sort. But again, the media, the preachers, the teachers, the unions all play this up as a good thing. So it is a psychological, spiritual war we're in. Now we got to quit whining about these damn politicians. Well, this guy's a creep. Wait till we vote him out. Well, you're just voting the other boot in. Right, left, right, left, right, left, and you're being marched to somewhere you ain't going to want to end up at. All you got to do is look at the takedown of Russia. Didn't work out well for the people at all. Same template, same bullshit. And are we going to just stand idly by and watch the demise of our nation? I hope not. When I was talking to Jason last night, I said the idea of me going to a foreign country to fight a war that you really don't have any, it's not credible, ain't ever going to happen on my part anyways. But if you come and attempt to take down my country or invade my country, that's a whole different ballgame. But people have been so brainwashed You know, they actually think their militaries there going to save them from whatever boogeyman, when the boogeyman has been inside our gates since the beginning. I love that thing Cicero wrote, right? You know, a standing army at the gate is less to be feared because you know what the hell you're looking at. But this Trojan horse we call government is working in the shadows, working in the dark. There isn't a politician in this country that should not be hung for high treason against the people. But then you say, well, wait a minute. How can we hang them for high treason against the people when they don't represent the people? Good question. Good question. Because they don't represent the people. They've never represented the people. They represent the corporation. The corporation came out of Rome. And the church came out of Rome. All roads lead to Rome. And it's evil. When you have church people welcoming Islam into their nation, it's just more proof of how propagandized and how well, they have no knowledge, apparently, of the past. And the preachers are there, you know, pushing, the ecology movement, that we have to all, you know, we're supposed to be good stewards, it says in the Bible somewhere. But that's not what's going on, because every one of your churches is incorporated, which means you're part of the Church of Rome. They're taking their directives from the globalists. And they're feeding you in the churches crap. The ecology movement is a fraud. The immigration movement is a fraud. The multiculturalism is a fraud. The LGBTQ is a fraud. Black Lives Matter is a fraud. Occupy is a fraud. Idle No More is a fraud. It's all fraud. It's all part of their psychological game to take you down. Now, if I say anything negative about LGBTQ or early sex ed or pedophilia, if I say anything negative about Jews, if I say anything negative about Muslims, if I say anything negative about pretty near anything, except you white supremacists, I can dump on you guys all day, and nobody's going to bother me. But if you actually make an attempt to deal with the actual problems that we have here and where they came from and what the plan is, all of a sudden you're going to get stomped. And that's all just part of that psychological game of getting you to duct tape your own face. Because they can't shut you up. Only you can shut you up. Only you can make yourself silent. Because they do not have the power to make you silent. So through all of this propaganda they're coming at you with from every angle, you become fearful. You don't want to get in trouble. You know, it's like when I talk to those kids, 14-year-old guys. Why they're not roughhousing on the street? You know, you don't look like you're having any fun. Well, we're not allowed to do that. Why? Well, because the teachers say if they see us doing it, even though we're not on the school grounds, they're watching us all the time, and we'll be noticed on that, and it will be on a record, and we could, It could negatively affect. This is what these kids told me. 14-year-old freaking guys told me this. And I've had several groups of them say basically the same thing. That their actions could negatively affect their future employment careers. Huh? You're 14-year-old guys. And you walk around on eggshells. And then they wonder why there's so much mental illness in the youth. Now, what they've done to the youth is they've done the same thing they've done to the rest of the population. These people are willingly duct taping their faces. When they should be screaming from the rooftops, they're wandering around with duct tape on their faces like beaten dogs. Our forefathers would not be impressed with this. Back in the day, a 14-year-old boy was considered a man. Now a 35-year-old man is considered a child. Sad, really. Beaten into the ground. And that's bloody unfortunate. So, I really encourage people to, look up words. And the best place to look up words is etymology, which is the origins of the words. And you can see how they've been transformed over time to play into what they need the word to do. Since the term demogos explicitly denotes someone who leads or shepherds the demos, which is the mob or the sheep, the eventual use of this word as the primary epithet for a political panderer represents a virtual reversal of its original meaning. The word, in fact, implies that the people need someone to lead them, and that political power, at least in part, is exercised appropriately through this leadership. That's from Lauren J. Simmons II. What's wrong with democracy? Well, it's a fraud. Plain and simple. It's a fraud. You got to ask yourself, when was the last time we ever saw peace and freedom on the planet? Democracy? No. The legal system? No. Law. Law that supposedly came from the Creator, who supposedly created man and woman, and gave them dominion. And then these sneaky guys come along and created the legal system. They create it, therefore they control it. They're the authority of it. They're the author of it. And they conned you into believing that legal is law. Legal is basically the old syntax from Rome, where they make up any stupid rule and regulation they want, and you will bow to it because they're the authority. Well, they're not the authority. They're false authority. Absolutely false authority. They're fraud. None of this stuff was ever disclosed to anybody. But they interchange these words constantly. Legal and law, legal and law, legal and law. Law is legal. Legal is law. when in fact it's not. Legal ain't law, and law ain't legal. Law was given to you by your Creator. Simple thing. Do no harm. Treat others as you wish to be treated. Makes for a much more peaceful situation. Now, we got to get back to where our forefathers tried to get to. When they came to North America, those people on the Mayflower were carrying that Geneva Bible. This is after the Reformation. This is after the protest. That's where the word Protestant came from. That they figured out the evil of Rome, and that Rome was exactly opposite of what it said it was. That's why we have to rock the boat, because the world's upside down. The Pope is not the vicar of Christ. The Pope is the bum boy of Satan. And the people who had the Geneva Bible figured that out. It was wrote all over the place. Side notes, footnotes. And it was Luther, basically, and Calvin and the boys, and once they looked at Rome, went, what the hell's going on here? We got pedophilia, we got guys who are nutted, who dress like women, who look after the women, and so on and so forth. Geez, doesn't that just look real similar to today? Well, it is real similar. They've risen again. Well, just look at Rome as Babylon. Babylon's back. And they're coming after all of the good, moral men and women and children. I'm sure there's the odd child that tries to stand up in the classroom saying, this is nuts. This is bull crap. Now, they'll be immediately taken and put on drugs or something, or expelled from the school. And I've talked to students that have been expelled from the school, not because that they were raising hell, not because of anything they did, other than simply ask some pertinent questions. In other words, they took the duct tape off. They had the balls to stand in the class and ask the teacher a relative question, of which they can't answer. And the last thing they want is the rest of the student body standing up and asking questions. So these people, these students are labeled as a problem, dissidents, and they're asked to leave the school. So the whole thing's shut down. And it's not, the good moral men and women have really duct taped their faces, and you got to pull that duct tape off. You cannot be that stupid. It's impossible to be that stupid not to see what's going on. You see it, you just don't want to deal with it. And history proves that. Oh, somebody else will fix it. Well, we'll vote them out. Well, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to upset anybody. All excuses. This is not a time for excuses. This is a time to say what needs to be said and mean it. Because only by doing that can you get strong. You never get strong from a weak position. If you're cowering out of fear, you ain't going to get strong. You're going to get run over. So you got to step forward to get strong. You got to help strengthen each other. Or you're just a bunch of, jiggling, massive fear. Boo. Ah. It's that simple. That's what they've done to you. And you're going to somehow have to get yourself strengthened. The last night when we talked about Waco, and Jason understood exactly what went down there. The idea of military services going after people in a nation is haywire, and the fact that nobody, and I was in Florida the whole time that thing was going on in Waco, and I was really disappointed in the American people. I mean, I was disgusted, actually. All I ever see is, home of the free and land of the brave, or whatever it is, land of the free, home of the brave, whatever. Doesn't matter. And nobody got in between these two groups. A nation of 300 million people plus allowed the media, the politicians, the preachers, and so on, to center out a group of people that had caused nobody any harm. And over the course of something like 51 days or whatever it was, didn't make one move to help those people out. It was a test. And the American people failed that test miserably. Then we talked about the Bundy Ranch standoff, or stand down. And that's exactly what should happen in Waco. So while I was discussing with the American people I saw in Waco, I kind of smiled on the Bundy situation, because those weren't a group of radicals. Those were just people from all walks of life who said enough is enough. And they got in between the two parties. But they rode in, not looking for a fight. They rode in on their moral high horses to stare down the aggressor. And in all situations like that, one party has to blink. And the feds went, we started shooting these people. This ain't going to play well. So they backed down. And that's what we have to do on our borders. We cannot depend on the police. We cannot depend on the military. They've all sold their souls. They've all been internationalized. They're all working for the final empire. So that leaves us. And we're going to have to get in between them. And last night when I was talking to Jason, it was pretty positive. He's not just sure how, because what they do to the vets is not good. But the idea of getting the vets, so if we took 100 people down to the border, we would all be arrested, and the media would play us up as white supremacists or some stupid ass thing. When all we're trying to do is protect the border, which backfires completely, because then even those who were starting to lose their fear re-fear themselves. So the idea of getting the vets in between the police, military, and the immigrants is positive, because Jason, and I agree with him, thinks that the police on the border will have a very difficult time, because they're basically same brotherhoods. Will have a very, very difficult time, because it won't play well in the media. You see, it's all about media. It's all about the propaganda. It's all about what's presented, because it's all a play. It all depends how the thing goes on stage. And it wouldn't go well, be the same as the Bundy stand down. It wouldn't go well if you start arresting and shooting veterans who went overseas to protect your nation. It won't fly. You know, it's the same reason as they're taking us down through consent instead of conquest, because bombing North America, you can't play that in the media. There's no friggin' way you can play that in the media. So they have to take us down through consent, which we've been doing a very good job of, by the way. But if we could get some veterans and stick them on some border crossings, get enough of them, and then build that contingency up with regular folk, now we got some serious power in our hands. There's not just a bunch of so-called white supremacists. These aren't white supremacists anyways. They give a shit about their families. They give a shit about their society. They care about their children. They care about their futures. These are not white supremacists. These are normal people. You know, these nations, these are your homes. And if a bunch of people that you don't know just roll into your yard and told you that, you're going to have to change the way you do everything to fit us, you go, what are you, brain dead? Get lost. No, you have to do this. Well, we're not gonna. So take a hike. If you don't take a hike, we'll give you a boot. We'll move you along. You would do that for your own home. Well, your country is your home. And they're doing exactly that. They're coming in here and telling you that you're going to change everything you ever knew, everything you ever accepted as your society, everything you thought was normal is now going to be tossed out the window, and you will accept the new normal. Only very weak people would allow that to happen. And regardless of how I look at it, and I think of what the sacrifices our forefathers what they put up with to get out from the Buddha tyranny, to start over in peace and freedom and law, and to where we are today, it's very disheartening. But I'm a firm believer that the blood of our forefathers is still coursing through our veins somewhere. Just got to get it activated. And then we stand. And I most definitely am not promoting violence. You know, they're trying to get us to consent to the takedown of our nations, okay, without violence. Which means we can stand up and kick their sorry asses out of our nations without violence. We got to reverse the fear. Okay? They got the general population living in fear. Well, we got to reverse this. Again, rock that damn boat. Everyone's upside down. It's not us who should be in fear. It is they who should be fearful of us. But if we don't put the fear to them, they got nothing to fear. They're convinced that they have you so weak that you can't bring yourself to stand and stop them. They're convinced of it. And so far, we've proved them absolutely correct. We need to change that. You know, when they rolled that boat over in that movie, and I don't know which one it was, but Pirates of the Caribbean, these guys are very sneaky, you know. They got you thinking legal is law. They got you thinking the people who vote for you represent you. And a whole bunch of other stuff, which is totally untrue. So everything looks normal when none of it is normal. I just love that scene when they're touring around in their ship and it looks kind of normal, but it just don't feel right. And then Crazy Jack he goes and he looks at the maps and that on the compasses in the middle of the boat there, and it was like sun up, sun down, or whatever the hell it was he said. Something didn't set right. It was supposed to be sunrise, sunset, not sun up, sun down. So he starts rocking the boat. They flip the boat floats around upside down for a while, and then it flips. It comes back up. And this is what I want to hear from people. When the first mate's getting his ass up off the deck and the water's running off the deck, he looks around and says, "We're back. Bingo." In other words, we're out of the rabbit hole. And that's what has to be done. It's not a question of whether we can do it. It's a question of whether we will do it. We can do it, but will we? I believe we will. A lot of people keep telling me it ain't never going to happen, but I don't believe that. I was born here. My forefathers came here. My forefathers hacked farms in the villages out of the bush. My forefathers, like yours, suffered greatly. You didn't hear our forefathers saying, "Hey, Martha, you turn the dishwasher on for me? Crack the air on? Crack up that thermostat, would you, darling?" These are tough people. And we're not. And that's sad. Every time I think about my forefathers, I just see, I get this vision of them just shaking their heads at us. What a bunch of pussies. All we did for you idiots, all we sacrificed for you, you let it all slide. And the very tyranny we left our lands from, to get out from under, you sat back and you allowed them to put that boot of tyranny back on the back of your neck. They got to be shaking their heads. They got to be very disappointed in us. Now, we got to nip this in the bud. What they're hoping to do is get enough of these people in here. We've already got all kinds of things going on in our country. But, and most of these people aren't being charged with anything. These migrants. Most of these rapes and other nefarious actions go unreported, at least in the media. And it's getting worse. And what they're hoping for is to get enough in here before we smarten up, put a stop to it, that we're going to have what's going on in Europe. The people fighting against the immigrants, the people fighting against the migrants. That's what they want. You think about how many people get shot in America and Canada now by the police, or tasered, or screwed over, or whatever. And then you look at the number of, especially over in Europe now, where they have all these no-go zones. People go, "What's a no-go zone?" Well, it's simple, isn't it? These people ain't here to immigrate or to integrate. They're here to put their law here and their religion here, because they're not separated. They're not separable. And we should have never separated ours either. The whole idea of becoming secular was that you gave the legal, by becoming secular, you just threw the law out the window. Is what you did. So they can just have at you. But Islam is not separated. Where they go, their law goes. Where they go, their religion goes. And Islam means what? Submit. Now, these no-go zones, there's all kinds of videos out there where the police or an ambulance or whatever roll into a no-go zone, and next thing they're being pelted by rocks and whatnot. Now, if you think for a second here of a bunch of you in Canada or America started pelting rocks at the police, what the outcome of that would be? Surely somebody would end up dead, because the police would be shooting at you. But they don't stop and start shooting at the Muslims in the no-go zones, because they're told not to. Because this whole immigration-migration situation is part and parcel of the takedown of our nations. You have become the enemy. You have been transformed into the enemy. That's right. You, the good men and women of your nations, the nations your forefathers built, have been rebranded as the enemy. Now that ought to piss you off severely, but it's the truth. It is the truth. Now, Jason, who says he's not racist, and I'm not racist. I most definitely don't consider myself to be racist. It doesn't matter what race, whatever race is supposed to mean. It doesn't matter. You have bad, evil people in all races. So it is all the Jews behind this? Of course not. Of course not. It's the ones that have gained power, who have risen to the top. You don't rise to the top unless you're evil. Good men and women do not rise to the top. Can't be allowed. But Jason was saying he went to a beach. I'm repeating some of this stuff because we had so many technical problems last night. It was nuts. But, Jason went to a beach outside of Kingston somewhere. And he did, he never even noticed this stuff, really. And this is our problem. We don't notice anything. But he went to the beach and he started counting. And on that beach, there was 200 and some Muslims, migrants, and 23 or 27 white people. That kind of freaked him out a little bit. Because that's the plan, is that you will be in the minority. Once you are in the minority, well, you've lost your nation. Simple as that. I mean, our immigration minister is a Muslim. Our Attorney General of Ontario is a Muslim. Mayor of Calgary is a Muslim. How the hell did this happen? How the hell that happened? Simple. We ain't paying attention. Head of the military is Muslim. Oops. It's all part of the game. It's all part of the plan. And we're sitting idly by watching it. Oh, we whine and bitch and complain about it. That's what we do well in the West. We're very good at it. We're pros. But it doesn't accomplish anything. They just keep marching. Now, one of the things Jason mentioned, which anybody who have a brain knows is happening, is that these people coming in are mostly male of fighting age. That's the vast majority that are coming across the border. These aren't families. It's the infantry. Really no different than the Roman soldiers marching into a town to take it down. Really no different at all. And all you got to do is go look at that Roman flag with the laurel wreaths around it and the Roman Empire inside of it, and then look at the UN logo with the world inside of it. And some of their logos are if you look at some of their logos, they're set up like a it looks like a target, and that is the target. The world is the target. They want complete and total control over every square inch of this planet. And that's a tough position to fight back from. We need to start the fight. Well, we needed to start the fight 50 years ago or more. But we can't wait any longer. We got to get moving. Because they're moving faster and faster and faster. And we're still sitting around whining and bitching and complaining. So we need to gather up the strong in our nations, those of strong spirits, minds, and spines. You know, if you had 10% of the population in the United States, you'd have like 33 million people. How the hell are they going to stand down 33 million people? Ain't going to happen. You know, it's the ants and the grasshoppers. There's a whole swack of us, and there's very few of them. And they're nervous. They're bad nervous. They're doing everything in their power to get their work done, the takedown completed, before we go, hey, wait a minute. This is negative to us. We need to do something about it. You know, the psychology that's involved in this is pretty simple, really. And we just got to get by that, right? They're not holding. I mean, the psychology and the propaganda, and that is really like a mental gun at your head. It's a psychological gun. But that psychology gun really can't hurt you. So we really have nothing to fear except fear. And we were told to fear not. So why are we in fear? Why are we so weak? We should actually be ashamed of ourselves. You know, they talk about bullies all the time. Well, who's the bully here? Who's the bully here? Somebody tells you can't say something? Somebody tells you can't think for yourself? Now, anybody that's gone up against a bully figures out real quick that once you go at the bully ain't going to bother you no more. Now, I'm going to bring this all the way down as low as I can bring it down. Right down to the local level, where I was having a hassle about they wanted me to get a what the hell you call that, on my property, whatever. They wanted me to get some paperwork done, minor variance, and asked them what the hell they were talking about. They put a stop work order. I ripped it up, and when it all boiled down, the problem seemed to be I raised the ceilings in the house, and apparently I stole some of the municipal air. I didn't know that was a problem, although they did have the blueprints, and they did give me the building permit. They just like to give people a hard time. So my problem now is that I stole some municipal air. And they kept ragging on me about this minor variance. I want nothing to do with it. You want it, you go get it, you pay for it, and you bring it back to me. Because I ain't getting involved in it. They came to me with this. See, this is the difference between moral, which is strong, and weak. This is the difference between strong and weak. Moral man will stand his ground. The weak man will fold. A weak man will say, oh, okay, I didn't realize that. I'll go get the minor variance. Now, I know they don't particularly like my way of doing things. So they came to the house one night and they go, oh, well, we talked to the council, and the council said we told them what was going on, and they said, well, there's 99% chance they will pass it. And I said, well, I don't like those odds. And they go, what do you mean? They said 99%. Well, not 100%. So there's 1% that they're going to give me a hard time, and I ain't going there. But see, this is what I tell people. You see, somebody's going to blink, just like they did at the Bundy Ranch. Somebody's got to blink. And if you're determined you're not going to blink, in other words, if the people of this nation are absolutely prepared not to blink, they lose because they cannot win. But I also tell people that once you get up on that moral high horse, you best not come down. Because if you plan on coming down, you best not even bother getting up, because you're going to lose. But this is a blink game. Somebody's going to blink. And if you know it's you that is not going to blink, then they're the ones that are going to blink. And typical way this works is they come back to me and tell me there's a 99% chance that the council will pass it. Okay? That is the renegotiation. You don't go there because you already won. So they try to suck you into a new negotiation. In other words, get you down off your high horse. You don't do that, ever. You just don't do it. So then I phoned the counselor, asked the counselor if he knew what the hell was going on over here. And he said, yeah. And I said, how do you know that? He said, they were here last night. And I went, and? He said, I simply told them that when Ron is right, and he knows he's right, nobody is going to back him down. In other words, he will not submit if he knows he's right. And in this case, he's right. So my suggestion is to back off, because it won't work out well. And after that, I had a meeting with the CAO, the city manager, and the city manager and the CAO are all specifically trained to implement the UN agendas through the local. You've heard global to local. The global program, the Final Empire, is implemented through your local councils, giving the power to the global, which we don't want. Have a meeting with him. He says, what is it you want? And I said, I don't want them around me anymore, right? I don't want to see your building inspectors. And he says, done. Because you obviously know what you're doing. Well, fine. Now, you just said that your people are incompetent. Why is our taxes paying for these incompetent people wandering around giving people a hard time? So that was some years back. And this time, and it works. It works because we renovated I had a contractor renovate a commercial building on the main street, which I renovated like 25 years ago. And we've been at it for like 2 months. And I'll go outside, have a smoke, and this SUV rolls in with the municipal logo on it, which is a corporate logo. And some girl gets out of the truck, and I go, hey, how you doing? And this is a nice day, although it's snowing and blowing and cold. And says, what's up? Well, I'm the building inspector. Oh, yeah. She says, I've been driving by this place for 2 months. Uh-huh. Well, there's been no permit issued for this. No, and there ain't going to be, because I don't require them. Okay? Because if I went and got a permit, that means I got off my horse. Don't go there. Once you won, you won. So we had a little chat and that, and I explained some stuff to her, and I said, you go back and you talk to the municipality, and you'll see I don't require building permit, because I know what I'm doing. And, of course, nobody ever came back and gave me a hard time. We got to quit bowing down, folks. Okay? This is our home. Our home. And we got to stand up and defend it like it's our home. Anyways, Christopher, you on?
I am.
How are you, my friend?
Well, I'm having.
I'm starting to sound like some sort of deranged preacher, eh?
No, you're making absolute 100% positive truth in what you say. I'm having problems with the network. I can't keep
network?
Your show on. UCY. I can't keep your show on. It keeps cutting out. And then my other channels aren't working, so I went to Skype just so I could hear you. And then Skype cut me off 2 times already.
Yeah, I've seen you disappear there once for a minute.
Yeah. I had to reboot.
Yeah, we had problems last night too.
That's incredible.
Well,
maybe we should stop talking.
Well, no, we want to talk about the newest blueberry muffin recipe. We got no problems, right? If I want to say how positive LGBTQ is for the community, no problem, right? The only time you run into problems is when you're trying to get some truth out. Then they start to get a little weird, which I find rather humorous myself, right? You know, a lot of people don't like to use Skype because they say, well, they can tell what you're saying. I don't care. I want them to know what I'm saying, right? Otherwise, I've duct taped my face, or I'm living in fear.
Oh, there's that duck word again.
Well, you know, the duck, although we don't have any duck crossings yet, do we?
Well, we do here. Maybe not in your neck of the woods.
You don't have any duck crossings. You got turtle crossings.
Oh, turtle crossings. Yeah. We got that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and so when I looked into Bob Ray, who is gone to Marmanar or wherever the hell that place is, to see about gathering up 650 Muslims and bringing them over here. When I checked him out years ago and found out that he went to Oxford, and then I found Oxford is a multitude of schools, and looked through that. The mascot for his particular school at Oxford is a turtle, and the turtle's named after a Marxist woman. So when I see turtle crossings, it kind of makes me grin. You know, this is a Marxist turtle crossing. You know, you will stop for the Marxist turtle, or you will be in trouble. You know, and in the movie, the ducks were the good people, right? So we don't have any duck crossings because the ducks are the problem for the people that want the world empire. Maybe we should start putting up duck crossings. That would really screw people up. The politicians would be going.
Maybe they'd ask more questions.
Well, no, I think it would mess the politicians up. Like, okay, wait, we know the turtle's Marxist, but where the hell is he duck crossings come? Who's putting up the duck crossings? Right? You know? No, it's amazing. I got to tell you, I went down to get a coffee today before the show, and I got to tell you that, and I told the girl at the store, and she's got her head screwed on straight. You know, I said, I went back through my head last night of all the shows I've ever done, and I really wish we hadn't had all the technical difficulties last night, but I got to tell you, man, I was because Jason didn't come on the first time he was supposed to come on, and you know, there's some nervousness stuff about coming on last night, but I was kind of nervous last night because I'd never spoken to Jason before, and I didn't know where he was coming from, and I thought, you know, I'm going to have this rah army guy, and you know, I got to say, that was the most enjoyable show I think I've ever done.
Well, he's an intelligent lad. Very intelligent. He gets it. Very dangerous, too, by the way. I told him if we get into a fight, which we don't want to.
No.
But, you know how you used to go when you were a kid? You got 12 guys in the schoolyard, and you get to pick one. I get to pick one.
Yeah.
Well, I get first pick, and Jason's on my team if shit hits the fan. He's intelligent, and he's not afraid of nothing.
Well, this is the whole point. You know, the reason we're in the position we're in is the majority of people live in fear. And once the fear is gone, it's over. It's over that quick. If people could just lose the fear, it's over. Because if we lost the fear and we understood that none of these politicians represent the people, which means that they're all operating in 100% fraud. If the people would just lose the fear, we could walk into every legislature in this country and just arrest these suckers. Just that quick. But we need people without fear to step forward. And there's not many of them to date. Our job is to try to work with people to get them to lose the fear. And, you know, Jason, you know, when he ran out in the field there to get his buddy that was shot, and they're raining bullets down across the field, you know, and that's adrenaline. You know, that's just adrenaline, you know, and the adrenaline loses the fear. Then he just got up and went and got his buddy and brought him back in. And according to them, they were under heavy fire. Right? But that adrenaline puts a coating around you, so to speak. It really, truly does. Because when you're in that mode, you have no fear.
Well, okay. You know, it's funny because I don't think he described it on the show, but he described it to me personally. He said, you know, you know, you call it dodging bullets. He said, but that's bullshit.
Yeah, you can't dodge a bullet.
Yeah, he said, but I was zigzagging to run to each guy that was shot.
Yeah. And
he said, I thought I was dodging bullets. He said, as I could hear him, he said, all you can hear is whiz bang, whiz bang, whiz bang. You know, on each side of your head, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, he said, I thought at the time I was dodging bullets. He said, but you cannot dodge a bullet.
No. And but that's a weird sound.
Zigzagging probably saved your life because they couldn't hone in on you.
That's a weird sound because when I grew up in the Ottawa Valley and we loved being out in the bush and that, and we just didn't like being in the house. We were playing ball or hockey or whatever outside, or skiing or snowmobiling, whatever. But we didn't like being inside. So during hunting season, and the Ottawa Valley got a lot of rock in it, right? And, you know, they would even put it on the news, you know, like, you know, be careful about going out in the bush during this hunting season time. And I remember that sound specifically. You know, we would go out there with our pellet guns or whatever. We're no problem. But the hunters out there, they'd be shooting and they hit a rock, right? And you'd hear this by your head, right? You know, you'd hear that freaking noise. It's unmistakable. And there's no point trying to dodge this shit, right? Because you don't even see it coming, right? And you know, I told my buddies, I said, they go, you hear that? You know, and yeah, so yeah, well, it's cool as long as you hear it, you didn't get hit, right? And but no, that adrenaline is an amazing thing, right?
I mean, well, these were his brothers, you know.
Like, yeah, you know, like
he was willing to sacrifice himself to go get his brothers and save them, and that's why he got the medal. And
yeah,
he did it.
And then they tossed
a couple, but you know.
Yeah, but then they tossed all these guys on a scrap heap when they're done with them, right?
Oh yeah. He was just 2 years away from getting a pension that I believe he deserves.
Well, when he was talking about guys that were like within a month of getting their pensions and getting tossed, you know, they don't give a damn. It's all dollars and cents. It's just a company. It's just a corporation. We mean nothing whatsoever to them. You know, they need us.
The old saying, cannon fodder.
Yeah. That's exactly what the poor guys are that get into these armies. But here we have now our we're being invaded. And there's nobody standing at our borders. It's freaking sad. So, you know, but I gotta say, I think that is, when he got going there, and I got listening to him and that, and realizing just he gets it all, right? You know, and when he talked about, I don't know which beach he went to, but when he talked about going to the beach and counting, you know, whites versus non-whites at the beach. And this, again, is not racist, folks, right? This is not racist at all. But it just threw him, right? Like, whoa, where's our people? Well, they're disappearing. And when you vote me for prime minister, and if you're a white European stock and you have a child, I will instantly cut you a check for $10,000. And that's money well spent. They do that in Quebec. I don't know. I think it's $5,000 or something they're cutting for French families to have children, because they know their population is in trouble. You know, instead of giving all this money to migrants to come in, why don't we pay our own people to breed? Same thing. We increase our population and we got our people. Versus our people not breeding and bringing these other people, which is going to eradicate us basically completely. So we're just going to have to, we just got to do what needs to get done. You know, I was thinking about a bunch of vets standing at a border crossing with a bunch of people, just regular Joes like you and I, backing up the veterans. And I can see no way that the media can play that in a negative fashion that would play with the public. I just can't see it happening. And so it's psychology, right? We need to use psychology to take them down, just the same ways they're using psychology to take us down. If me and you, Chris, and a bunch of other guys go and stand on the border and say, that's it, these guys ain't coming in, well, that opens the gate for the media, you know, to put a target on us, to persuade the rest of the public that you don't want to do this. But if you had a bunch of veterans on that border who's saying, we went to fight, right, so that our nations would survive, and the very people you sent us to fight against, you're hauling in here as fast as you can, we ain't putting up with it. They can't play that negative in the media. They can't be done. They may try, but it ain't going to fly with the people, because the people have been taught to show respect for the veterans. So they can't get a negative shot at them that way.
Yeah. So
we can get some veterans and some good guys and gals and children to hit the border, we can shut this shit down.
Well, the welcoming committee, they have the borderless border, which is like RCMP, that give them, you know, their free ride to their hotel room.
Oh, the bellhops. The bellhops.
Yeah, the bellhops. They would probably taser us and shoot us. And
no, they wouldn't. Not if there's a group of veterans standing there, they won't. They won't do it. It becomes the same stand down as what happened at the Bundy Ranch. Exact same thing.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to blink. And it's all about, can we play this in the media? The answer is no. Okay? That's how that plays out. When the feds were there and those moral men and women from all walks of life showed up at the Bundy Ranch loaded for bear, and they just stood there. And here's the feds trying to stare them down. And these people made a decision, they weren't moving. Now, how are they going to play this in the media? They can't play it in the media.
Well, that's funny, because
so they got no choice but to back off.
It was veterans from the Americans, veterans that were on the bridge, and a lot of them were snipers, and that scared the hell out of them. They had their snipers pointing at the people, but then the old veterans that were,
they're the snipers pointing at the snipers.
Yep.
Yeah, and this doesn't play well in the media. So somebody's backing down, but the point is that those people made a decision they weren't going to back down. Not come hell or high water, they weren't backing down. And that's the blink game. Somebody's going to blink. And we know it's not us. So the only other party that can blink is the other party. And I'm sure there was lots of conversation about how can we play this in the media. We can't. This will not play in the media. Right? We can't do what we did at Waco. It won't work. So somebody's got to back off. And this is powerful stuff, but it is all psychology. It's a psychological war. We don't need guns to win this war. We just need some tough-minded people, some people with moral compass, people that understand right from wrong. But I do believe if we had a contingency of veterans, I mean, every November, I mean, if you ain't wearing a poppy, what are you? Don't have any respect for the veterans? What's wrong with you? Right? So the people respect the veterans. And we got lots of veterans. And we need to get them down on the border. But we need not just the veterans. We need the veterans and the general public to stand together. Now there's nowhere for the media to go. There is no frickin' where for them to go. There is nowhere for the politicians to go. That's how you shut it down.
Yeah, well, there was pointed in the chat about...
I'm going to get my BB gun and I'll meet you down there.
Yeah, your Red Ryder.
Yeah, my little Red Ryder BB gun, yeah. And
mine too.
Well, see, if we all showed up with a bunch of Red Ryder BB guns, that would play well in the media because it would be, oh my God, they're going to take their eye out, and it would it would just shut everything down instantly, right? You know, Canadians go up against the military with Red Ryder BB guns. Film at 11. There's. It's a game.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. Talk about Jason.
No, he was mentioning too after the show. I don't know if he did bring it up during the show. I can't remember, but there is actually no-go zones in Canada now, and the cops
really?
won't go in there.
Really?
So, Jason
well,
that
would be down in the Toronto area, likely, eh?
Yeah, probably a lot. But Jason said there's more than you know. He said it's not reported in the media, obviously.
No.
But you know what I said to Jason, and he agrees. I said, well, you know what we should do is get a party together of European blood, Canadian-born men that built this country or grandparents built this country.
Yep.
And Jason and I will walk in first to the no-go zone, let them get their party together, but we'll have a backup behind us, just walk in behind us. Just, you know, to show that we're not putting up with this. This is Canada. It's not Afghanistan.
Well, we need everybody on board. We need a contingency of people that include the veterans and includes the grandparents and the parents and the aunts and uncles and the children. And just say this is ours. Okay, and you're not coming in to do what you did to the native people, period.
Well, you can look at this two ways, though, Ron, right? Like, I mean, everybody wants to come in. I mean, we all know it's done by design, but everybody wants to come here because of what we have. And we made what we had, which made us a first world nation, I guess, if you want to put it, you know, in the context of how to develop and you know, like clean your country, make a clean country.
Oh, now you start talking like a duck again.
I know. And then you've got third world nations coming in because they got shit where they're at, and now they want to take our shit.
Well, the whole point is
our shit, their shit.
Well, the whole point is that they and these are the same people that run this thing from the get-go. The new game is, we're not sustainable because we use too many resources. So the game is to get these people in here to take over the legislatures and that. And the end game on this is to turn us into a third world nation so that we use less resources, so that we save the planet.
More easily controlled because you bring
yeah. So if you think that these people are coming in to bring some positive to the country, you're crazy, right? The idea is to run the debt up so high that the whole phony debt thing was created to eventually get every country into a debt position that's so heavy they can't get out from under it. So then they're going to liquidate the debt in exchange for total and complete control over all of your resources in your country, just like they went to Africa and everywhere else and screwed the people over and took over their freaking. Now, that's a perfect example. You go to these countries where they went in, the IMF and the World Bank went in and offered these people loans and indebted them to the point they couldn't pay it, and they ended up giving up all their resources. And that's exactly the plan. That's the final empire plan, is that they control all the resources on the freaking planet. That's where your human rights nonsense comes in, where you have the right to adequate housing, water, electricity, food, education, so forth. But the only problem is they're the ones now who decide what is adequate. And their own papers say they want to reduce your water usage and your electricity usage by 75%. Now, you just imagine living in this country using 75% less electricity or gas or whatever, 75% less water. They want to stop you eating meat once they have control of your resources in that. You won't be allowed to grow meat because, well, it uses too much water. Not given the fact that what goes in comes out, gets lifted up and comes back down as rain. It's a cycle, but they always get rid of the cycle, right? It's a one-ended thing. The water goes in the cow and it's gone, never to be found again. And people actually believe this crap, right? So this is a very, very, very dangerous game that's being played out here, and we got to put a stop to it. Simple as that. So then we just have a simple. Once we know what the problem is, once we know what the end game is, then my favorite football team of all time was the Edmonton Eskimos, because the Edmonton Eskimos I could always win money on. I would let them get down. And, they might be down 20 points or whatever, fourth quarter, and win the game. Okay, so we're down. We're kind of behind the eight ball right now, but we win the game, because you dig it down. It's the same as Jason going out in the field to get his buddies, make a decision, get it done, right? They're trying for their final empire. We got to put a stop to it. One of my favorite all-time things in football is when, these guys are standing on the 5 yards out or 10 yards out. And they got 3 downs to get in. And you stand them up. And they don't get in. Right? Now, a lot of people would say, well, they got 3 downs to get in. We might as well just let them have it, because they're going to get in. That's a wrong attitude. That's not the attitude that Jason had. Okay? The right attitude is, we're going to get this done. We ain't going to let them cross the line. And you don't. But whether they cross that line or not is not their decision, it's our decision. Okay, so if they get hold of everything and they bankrupt us and then they take over all our resources, which means they own everybody and everything in here, and they will decide what you eat, where you live, and so on and so forth. If we decide to just stand and not stand up, they're just going to walk in. So the decision of whether we lose this nation or don't is not dependent on the globalists. It's only dependent upon us. We're the ones that make the decision whether they're going to get what they want or not them. People, oh, there's nothing we can do. Well, shut up and jump off a cliff, right? Because you're of no use to anybody. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Hey, Jason, run out and get those guys. I'm so scared. Jason ain't going. Hey, Jason, hang tough till the shooting stops. Shut up. I'm going to get the guys. That's a man. So if he can do that, why can't we do what needs to get done? There's no excuses. None. None whatsoever. You know, I just tell people, look, same as I told the guys when I got them to run in the 2010 election, absolutely refused to run until a little tough love. I told them to go and look in their grandchildren and children's eyes and tell them Daddy and Grandpa knows exactly what's coming, but Daddy and Grandpa ain't got no spine. Now, it pissed both those guys off royally, but they both ran. Because it's too easy to say, I can't do anything. Somebody else will have to do it. That's because we've had too many superheroes in the past. The superheroes will save us. Maybe on the movie, but not in reality. Each and every one of you is the hero, or each and every one of you is a coward. Take your pick. All right? And I don't know anybody that would want to be a coward. So we're all heroes. So we go and we save our nation from this nonsense. Simple as that. Anyways.
I can't add any more to that.
I just wish everybody the best, and this is my last broadcast. I quit. I've turned into a coward, and I'm sick of it, and so I won't be on air anymore. I'm just going to go in the corner and suck my thumb and whine and cry. And I'll have to see if we got any duct tape. I want to duct tape my face, too. I don't want to say anything that might upset somebody. I'm just kidding, of course. But anyways, everybody have a great day. Thanks for calling in, Chris, as always. And I'm going to see if I can't catch a ride up to the reserve. Go get some smokes. And see where we go from there. But anyway, oh yeah, I almost forgot. 3 o'clock, Hal's on. And don't piss Hal off, or Hal will take you up behind the woodshed and give you the whooping that you deserve. Because we all deserve a whooping. Straighten us out a little bit. Toughen us up a little bit. And go from there. I'm waiting for music, but I don't hear none.
Well, you better get your smoke before the King's Act.
I want the Indians on side, the native people on side as well. Anyways, there's the music. We're out of time. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for listening.
Civilizing, buying time, killing people, next in line, lower classes, social slime, they don't matter, genocide, sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care, Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids, no one makes gun, trees, laugh to your face, fire.